First, the Quran, or Quran. The relatively young Quran sprang from its parent, the Bible, recycled Bible stories comprising much of its content. Therefore, much Bible refutation would automatically be Quran refutation. Muslim apologists resent that comparison, claiming that the Quran is perfect while the Bible is corrupt. Yet why would God create a book that resembles another book that is corrupt instead of something unique and special? And what internal evidence shows that the Quran is God-authored? If none exists, it would be circular reasoning. Furthermore, the Quran's reiteration of Bible stories contradicts details of those stories. Since the Quran was written much later, which of the two is more believable? Think on that. Worse, the Quran's authors seemingly tried to top or best the Bible by making those stories even more fantastic. For example, instead of Moses causing a single stream of water to spring from a rock, the Quran's Moses causes 12 streams to spring forth. And instead of disobedient people being bitten by snakes, in a Bible story, the Quran's God turns people into apes. Major differences between the Bible and Quran are that the Quran has no fulfilled prophecy whatsoever, nor any emphasis on loving God, only fearing Him. And instead of being perfected with a new covenant, as Christ's sublime coming perfected the old, there is a hadith, more of the same. And instead of expanding the old covenant notion of a chosen people into the new covenant proclamation that everyone can be special through Christ, the Quran merely switches God's chosen people from the Israelites to the Arabs. And while the OT merely mentioned, that is Old Testament OT, merely mentioned polygamy in a neutral, matter-of-fact way, the Quran made things worse by promoting the practice. Christ, however, clarified that proper marriage is always monogamous. Many scholars only consider Qurans valid if they are written in Arabic. Yet why would Allah choose to keep His divine message in the language of a people with one of the lowest literacy rates? Besides, the vast majority of people can neither read nor speak Arabic. And instead of the Christian heavenly reward of intimate union with God, it's having a harem of beautiful women. Heterosexual women who achieve heaven are out of luck, I would suppose. The vague injunction of women to cover, quote unquote, what is properly concealed, or whatever that is, single-handedly creates a major conflict over laws of dress. The Quran also has dozens of its own contradictions. Most followers take objectionable passages about killing infidels, every non-Muslim, in a figurative or spiritualized way. But since their literal meaning is that of violence which fundamentalists act upon, that's like swimming in a gasoline pool and hoping nobody throws a match. Quoting Muslim professor Hassan Hanfi, the Quran is a supermarket where you can find whatever you are looking for. And consider Dr. Robert Morey's article, Is the Quran the Word of God? Some have claimed that a cat would never walk on the Quran, which proves its divine authorship. However, this theory has been thoroughly tested and debunked. Syria's Tripoli library has around 20,000 commentaries on the Quran. Let's say that reading the Quran is like being on the telephone with God, and these commentaries are necessary to interpret it. That would make communicating on this telephone more inconvenient than having to assemble and disassemble a telephone by hand every time you talked on it. Using this alleged vehicle of divine inspiration would be harder than using my car if I had to assemble and disassemble it before and after I drove it. I could have English directions for doing that, while the Quran's only approved directions are in Arabic, which I cannot read. The Book of Mormon. Said book was supposedly introduced by the angel Moroni to Joseph Smith Jr. in the 19th century AD, that's the mid-1800s, on solid gold plates. There is no evidence, however, that these plates ever existed besides Mormons saying they existed. Besides, gold cannot deteriorate, so you can't have that excuse why it's not around. And it would not be old enough to have been lost in the annals of antiquity. Rather, a cache of unburied gold would be extremely conspicuous. And since gold is 70% heavier than lead, 19.32 grams per cubic centimeter versus 11.342 grams per cubic centimeter, the plates would have weighed an estimated 91 kilograms or 200 pounds. Today's Mormons try to claim that they were only gold-plated, but the Book of Mormon's Mosiah 8:9 already stated that they were pure gold. And their story goes that their founder, Joseph Smith, tucked them under just one arm and ran with them fast enough to outrun pursuers. Try that. Try with a 200-pound weight under one arm run, and run track and field. Try it. Try it. Also, when Joseph was a young boy, leg infection caused him to permanently limp for the rest of his life. So he doesn't even have two good legs, and he's doing that. Think about that. And besides all that, since gold is very soft, dropping or dragging the plates would have ruined their legibility. And instead of being originally written in the current popular language like the OT and NT were, it was said to be written in Egyptian, then translated with magic rocks. Also, the Book of Mormon plagiarizes the Bible and is poorly written, yet proponents claim that they say its perfect text complete the Bible's insufficient and corrupt texts. So again, we would have, the nonsense of God creating a book that resembles another book that is corrupt. That's their claim, another claim. And it contains references to places and events unknown anywhere else, like Christ secretly coming to America among the Indians. There's no record, nothing like that in history. And it like I said, it contradicts Christ's words in the Gospels, all of that. Moreover, Joseph Smith's polygamy completely went against his first and only legitimate wife's wishes. And besides being a false prophet and sorcerer, he was a big-time criminal whose known crimes included multiple counts of fraud, treason, and conspiracy to commit murder. Comparing the two books, they compare very nicely. Advocates of either the Quran or Book of Mormon each promote their book by claiming the idea of an open Bible canon. That is, you can add anything you want to the Bible. A shrewd preacher who staunchly affirmed a closed canon capitalized on this. When an Islamic apologist proclaimed an open canon, that is to allow further revelation after the Bible, as I said, the preacher trumpeted the Book of Mormon. Horrified, the Islamic man retracted his claim, or at least temporarily. When a Mormon proclaimed an open canon, to do likewise, the preacher trumpeted the Quran. Horrified, the Mormon retracted his claim, or he at least backed down. Besides, neither the Quran nor Book of Mormon add other pertinent information. They do not explain anything about modern life or improve upon Christ's moral imperatives. In fact, their teachings are morally inferior to those of Christ's in what they call the New Testament. Please see my video on the New Testament. And while NT scriptures close with beautiful imagery of God in heaven, the reward for the saved, both the Quran and Book of Mormon, both obviously originating from worldly men, have saved men supposedly rewarded with endless sexual indulgence and polygamy. Again, women would not want to go to heaven, at least straight women. But I wouldn't even consider the Bible to be God-authored. I don't even consider the Bible to be God-authored, though I honor it. Consider that Asian religious texts have never been considered God-authored, yet these Eastern religions are older than Christianity or Islam, and their history is more peaceful with less division and infighting. Instead of believing in a God-authored book leading to obedience to God, it seems to lead to usurping God's authority instead. Take care.